All right. Well, welcome back to Daily Run with Zab podcast, season 3. So this season, we're talking about obstacles and running through these obstacles, which could become opportunities. So I'm here with Crew Mahoney. So Crew has been running every day. And Crew, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself besides the run.
Yeah, so my name is Crew. I'm 22 years old. Although running is a big part of my life, I am, mainly a big weightlifter. Working out is a big part of my life, trying to become a better athlete. I am an entrepreneur. I own a few different businesses, and I'm always looking for different projects and things to challenge myself and become a better person every single day. So.
Nice. Great. So let's get into the run. So just for the listeners out there, a run streak is defined as running at least 1 mile every calendar day for at least a year. So Crew, tell us maybe how you got started and how you began to run every day, and how many years or how many days, days.
Yeah. So today, this morning was 1,610 days in a row. So bringing it back to day one, I was a sophomore in high school. And a friend of mine and I, we were just talking about running and figured it would be fun to do a challenge just for 30 days to run at least a mile every single day. So we did that for the 30 days. It's funny thinking back to it because I remember one of the main things is just kind of being scared, like running, because I would be doing it at like 4:35 in the morning before school and everything. So just being out there in the dark was its own little experience that you kind of get used to after many years.
So you started running by yourself,
Yeah.
or meet up with your
No,
friend?
no, it was by myself. We just kind of did it on our own terms and would talk about it later. But yeah, so did that for the 30 days, and I'm the kind of person when I do something like that and then I see, a spark of myself becoming a little bit better, it's hard to let that go because day 31, if I don't do it, I would look back at the previous 30 days and be like, man, I can't let, 30 days ago me be better than today me. Um,
Mhm.
so from there, I just kept doing it every single day. And I did it for 2 years. And that brought me to getting my wisdom teeth taken out. And they told me I wasn't able to exercise for a whole week. And I actually just recently made a post about this, but I ran 2 miles every morning leading up to that week. So for 5 or 7 days or whatever it was. Um, but I knew I could not, count that 5 days where I didn't actually run. So after that 2 years is where the actual streak has started from. So the 1,610 days.
Oh, do you think even though they told you you couldn't run, do you think you could have?
Thinking back on it, yeah. They make it seem all bad. They're like, oh, you're gonna get an infection if there's any like blood flow to your mouth and all this sort of stuff. If it was, you know, today's version of me, I definitely would have ran the mile. Um, but you gotta just keep moving forward, and I'll stick with the real streak. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, as you can see,
Mm.
I still have mine.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my other point. I would not get him taken out either. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, I remember like I had the appointment to get them taken
yeah,
out, and I chickened out because the whole like going under thing, and
yeah,
I also had my run streak at that same
yep,
time, and it was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, is this really necessary? And then the dentist told me, he's like, well, no offense, but you got a big enough mouth.
yep,
I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to keep them and not risk
yeah,
anything because I think also like early on in your streak, like it's almost easier to be like, well, it's only been a
yeah,
year, I can start
yep,
over or something. But once you kind of get further along with your streak, it's like, wow, like it's been 10, 15
yeah,
years, I'm going to figure out a way to run through this, which ironically, like my injuries kind of happened the first 5 years of my run streak
right,
and better, throughout the rest. But so yeah, that seemed like a since kind of our theme is obstacles, kind of more of an external event preventing you from running. But
I lost you there for a couple of seconds. If you it connection must have been bad. If you can just say that again.
oh, okay. Like, so the
Yeah.
obstacle was kind of like an external event, something in some way we couldn't really
Right.
control. Like it's similar to I don't know, like any sort of external event without it being an injury that you caused
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
necessarily.
I mean,
So
it's it's really interesting. I get a lot of people will comment on my videos and they'll try and come up with a scenario to be like, oh, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Would you still? I'm like, yes, of course I would, because if if I if I say that I run every single day, and I'm the kind of person that's going to, claim to be a disciplined person and be genuine to what I say, then it doesn't matter if it's snowing, it doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if I'm tired. The list goes on. I tell people I will be out there tomorrow morning running, unless someone cuts my legs off, which I really hope that one doesn't happen. But maybe I'd walk a mile on my hands. Who knows? But
yeah, well,
when you want something bad enough, you'll figure out how to make it happen. Um, and I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily grasp, because in their mind they want that external thing to keep them from doing it. Um, I want that external thing to be there, but I want to be in the moment and be like, we're still gonna get
mhm.
this done. Um, so when I look out the window of my bedroom in the morning and it's pouring down rain, I'm like, well, this will be funny, you know.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, tell us a little bit about your streak, because yours is different in the fact that, it's at a specific time.
yeah,
So let me just relate it to an interview I did with Robert Kraft, aka the Raven. Do you know him?
is he the one with like a million years in a row, basically?
So he's let's see, he's pushing, he's up there almost to 50, getting to 50 years, but his streak, and I've ran with him a few times in Miami Beach, so he starts the same place, same
Yeah,
time. Well, it changes daylight
right.
savings, but the same time, 8 miles every day, Miami
Yeah,
Beach. So it's same time, same place. And so the question for him is, like, okay, he's never traveled
yeah,
anywhere. I think he had the story, his mom was sick, he had to come back for his that time. And when I ran with people on the beach, and said, "Oh, I also run every day." They're like, "Oh, what time and place do you run?" So it's like
yeah,
you don't have to be locked into a time and
right,
place, but it has to be within that calendar
right.
day. But like I also explained to people that you start your run streak how you make up your own rules,
Yeah,
as long as it's at least a mile within a calendar day. So tell us, like, I guess, your rules
yeah,
of your run streak.
yeah. So it kind of works together, but it's actually doesn't necessarily have to do with the run streak. It's kind of its own streak, which is waking up at 5 a.m. every single day. Um, I don't have an exact date on that. It's about when I started the run streak, about 6 months at the beginning of that, of the 1610 days. I would wake up at 5 a.m. during the week and 6 a.m. on the weekends. And I got to a point where I was kind of sick of the inconsistency and, just being like, oh, it's the weekend. I should be able to sleep in an extra hour. Like, I just got kind of annoyed with that because I didn't want to tell people, oh, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, but also like 6 on the weekends because da da da. Like, I just like to be clear with the things I say. Um, so 5 a.m. every day, it's coming up on about 4 years now as a good estimation. Um, and then from there, wake up at 5, do a few like meal prep things, and it's basically running around like 5:25, 5:30. Um, so that's kind of where those two fit together, even though they're separate streaks, I guess.
Yeah. And your run is just a run. It's not like you're training for anything, or to kind of tell us maybe your intention behind your running.
Yeah. So the run is honestly a mental thing for me. Um, a mile is not hard for me to run. But when it's 5 a.m., it's dark, it's cold, it's raining, I'm tired, that same list of excuses that can be made. Um,
Mhm.
that's when it becomes difficult. Um, and so that's when I realize that I should be doing this every single day. I should be pushing myself, even if it's just a little bit, 7 to 10 minutes, whatever the mile might take. That's where the mental strength piece is more important for me. Um, in general, I'm training to be an athletic person. I did CrossFit for a while. I kind of get obsessed with too many things at once. Uh, but I think running is such a basic human thing to do. Um, so it just made sense to me to, be able to build that mental strength and always have that one thing, no matter if it's a rest day, if something is sore, or whatever else, that'll get done. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I hear my alarm.
no worries.
So I don't know if you've heard this is like a Zen quote, which would probably like you would you'd be like, oh wow, I understand that. If the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yeah, I've
So
actually
yeah,
feel like I've been saying that for quite a long time. I didn't know that
oh,
was
really?
like a known thing necessarily, but
Yeah, apparently it's a
yeah.
quote and kind of reflecting on it. I mean, I feel like, you know, maybe run streakers share this in common, like an
Mm,
obsessiveness. And, what word I kind of took out of my language when I first started my run streak 20 years ago was the word addicted,
mm,
because addicted kind of has like negative
yeah.
qualities. It's something like you're going to do something whether or not it's going to harm you or somebody else around you,
Yeah.
which sometimes we get to that point where we have to maybe run through pain,
Yeah.
but are we really harming, you know, I mean, that's a whole maybe different topic,
Right.
but the word obsessed or commitment, I think, kind of explains the run everyday thing better.
Yeah.
So, even you saying that you can be obsessed with weightlifting or CrossFit. I mean, I think I see that as a strength
Yeah.
because, when we want to learn something, a lot of times we kind of surf like the top of the
Yeah.
water, like very shallow understanding. And I see like this in a yoga practice a lot. Like, okay, we want to learn this type of yoga. Oh, but there's something else, this yoga, or oh, there's something else like
Yeah.
Zumba. Oh, there's like another, so we're kind of just like surfing the top of the ocean. But if we really want to understand something, whether it's, yeah, weightlifting or running or quantum
Yeah.
physics, or like you're saying, you created, you have your own brand, you're not just going to talk about it, read books. You're going to like dive down in the bottom of the ocean and try to figure it out. And I think the run every day is diving to like the depths of ourself to
Right.
really understand, okay, what am I capable of? What am I going to run through? Like, every day almost makes you stronger, even those like easy days where it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming some of your like easier runs were summertime where it's almost like light out,
Right.
warm. So, now you're getting into like winter season, and you live like winter season, right?
You said I live. What do you mean?
You live like in the winter season, where it gets cold. Like, what state do
Yeah.
you live
Yeah.
in?
I'm in
That's
North Carolina, so I mean it gets pretty cold. I mean, maybe last year it was like 17 degrees on the coldest day. So I mean,
yeah.
some of
You're still
the
experiencing
some of the northerners would be disappointed in my
that. Yeah.
non-experience of the real cold, but it is what it is. I
Yeah.
think
We're still experiencing,
yeah, I
yeah.
think I think of obsessed as a good thing as well because um I feel like it's the ability to accomplish something, to learn something, to do something no matter what. Um, so it's not always the best when there's something that you can't control that you're trying to change. And I'll kind of get into that in a second. But I think, when there's something that you really care about, there's something that you want to accomplish, it will get done. Um, going to things that you can't control, that's something I've learned from another streak of mine where, it's great when there's something positive you're working towards and you're really obsessed. But when there's something external that you can't control and you just want to change it so bad, but it's not within your control, um, taking cold showers, which I've been doing that every day for about a year now, uh, that has been a huge learning opportunity in that realm. Um, because the best way I've found to get through that every single day is that I have to be able to let it go. I have to be able to stand there and breathe and let the water hit me and be fine with that, because there's nothing I can do to change the temperature of the water in theory. I mean, I could twist the handle, but we're not doing that. Um, there's nothing I can do to change that situation. So I have to be able to be in the moment and be okay with what's happening. And I feel like that is huge for me because, growing up, it was never like that. When something's going wrong, I'm just as obsessed as I would be with the good things as fixing that. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think that's definitely a pretty interesting thing. And that's kind of the foundation of why I do the morning mile, among all these other things, kind of in my morning routine. Is there are going to be things throughout my day that are in my control. There are going to be plenty of things that are outside of my control. And if I can take advantage of everything that is in my control, the things that are out of it are going to bother me much less. Um, so let's say I go throughout my day, uh, and I'm walking and someone decides to slap me across the face. Well, I got slapped in the face today, but I also woke up at 5 a.m. I went for a run. I took a cold shower. I prepped my meals. I exercised, all these different things that I can say, hey, at least I accomplished this list of things that I can be really proud of, and that, a lot of people wouldn't even do this on one day. Um,
Mhm.
so that's a big part of why I do that, is just to have a default where I can still be proud of what I've done on any given day. So,
Yeah. So, and then, okay, my first question with the cold
mm.
showers, how long?
It comes out to about 10 minutes. So I get in there, I do a breathing routine, which is like 60 deep breaths. So I'll go like 10 deep breaths with it on my face, turn around on my head, like 5 seconds under each arm, on the side of each arm. So I'm like moving around, which makes it terrible.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because like in an ice bath or cold shower, if you kind of just stay in one spot, it makes it a little bit easier because you build this like thermal layer on the outside of yourself. Um, but yeah, so that makes it really tough. And then I, take a normal shower with it still cold. So like wash up and do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's about 10 minutes. Um,
So that's your routine after running then?
yeah. So
Yeah.
after I run, I come in, like, eating is another huge thing for me. I haven't eaten processed foods in like 5, 6 years. So absolutely no junk food. So prepping food and all that sort of stuff is a big part of the routine. So I time it out to where after my run, I start some things in the kitchen and then go up and take my cold shower, uh, and
Mhm.
then come back down. So by the time I get to the shower, I'm already kind of cooled off from the run. So I don't get to have that, like, oh, yeah, I'm sweating my butt off and now I can jump in the cold shower. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
this is going to suck.
So yeah, have you found, so a lot of times people ask me like, um, scenarios like we talked about
Yeah.
before, what if this happens? But I think the big thing is about injury
Mm,
prevention, preventing
yeah.
injuries. So, the fact that you've implemented already the cold shower, the eating, and also waking up at 5 would indicate, you have a good kind of bedtime routine. You're
Yeah.
kind of controlled with your time and your productivity. So I think at the beginning, and I feel like you're only, well, how many years?
For it's about 4 years for the running
Yeah.
streak, or like 4.5, I think it is.
So yeah, that's I feel like still pretty well, I mean everybody has their stories, but still pretty early to have
Mm,
developed like these other areas of your
yeah.
life that helps sustain, in some ways it's like helps sustain the run
Yeah.
every day, but really it's the fact that the run itself is sustaining these other practices in your life, because that's like the constant one thing that you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, and with the injury thing, like right now I have like Achilles tendonitis. Um, and that goes back to the obsession thing because I would do some barefoot running here and there, which I really enjoy. Like it's super fun. Um, and I would do that here and there, but nothing too crazy. And then I got some barefoot shoes, and like mainly for working out and like lifting and stuff like that. But I started running in them every single day. Just I got them, boom, running in them every single day, doing my mile. And after a couple weeks of that, I went to the beach with my friend and we walked 8 miles straight barefoot. And then the following days, barefoot shoes, running, running. And so now I have that because I was like so obsessed. I was like, man, I love these barefoot shoes. I want to freaking do everything in these. Um, and so now, you know, I have Achilles tendonitis, tendinopathy, however you call it. And so I'm slowly dealing with that, strengthening that. Um, and I wear thicker shoes and like heel strike temporarily, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of, but you got to do what you got to do. And I mean, even in the 4 years that I've been doing it, I've had a few different stories where I was like, man, I can't believe I'm out here doing my run. This is just so impractical. Um, like recently, I mean, I don't party, I don't do any of that sort of stuff. But one of my best friends, he had his 21st birthday party, uh, and you know, it's this whole big crazy thing. I go to bed at 9, but I sacrificed and I went to bed at 2 a.m. on this night, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make myself go to bed so then I have to wake up again at 5 to go do the mile and get everything done because yeah, it would, you know, it's that day. So sure, I could have stayed up and, you know, did the run at 2:30 and counted it as the daily mile, but yeah, that's too easy. So I got to make it harder on myself and make sure I go to sleep and then I have to wake up and do the whole thing. Um, and I,
And sometimes, I'm sorry, just to
yeah, no, yeah,
interject, like there's some run streakers out there that, you have the day, then you run after midnight, and I feel like that's not really. I mean, there's a
yeah,
practice, and I think that's where you and I kind of align, is the fact that it's a practice. Like there's some
yep,
devotion that you have towards it, where it's, you go to bed, you wake up. So the fact, staying up all night, to us, it's really like the same
yeah.
day. It's just a little bit cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you become attracted to that discomfort or that impracticality of what you're doing because, you know, if I didn't do that, then I would just have to live with it and be like, "Oh, well, I kind of BS'd it that day." And I would
Mhm.
think about that forever, but instead I can just be uncomfortable for a little bit and then get it done. Um, you know, another story, I went on a backpacking trip one time with some friends, and this was like a 2 night camping thing. I hadn't even been camping before this, but they were like, yeah, no alarm on this trip, and I'm like, all right, all right. And so naturally I'm in the friggin' tent and I wake up and it's like 4. I wake up 4:05, 4:10, and I keep like waking up every 5 minutes to like look at my phone and see what time it is. And we're in the middle of a freaking like in the mountains in this backpacking trail. And I go outside the tent at 5 a.m. Everyone's sleeping. There's like this grass hill. I set a 10-minute timer because I know that's like the slowest I would run a mile, and ran up and down this hill in the complete dark in the mountains with my phone flashlight in front of me like 4 feet. And just, I did that twice. And I was like, I have to get the mile done. Like, I'm not gonna look back and be like, oh yeah, well, you know, I was on this thing. I
Like,
couldn't do it. I was like,
uh-huh.
no, there's distance outside of this tent, and I'm gonna get this done, even though my friends in the tent were probably like, what the heck is this? This is so dumb, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, yeah, to your story, maybe most people would find crazy, but I really
Hmm.
understand. I'm like, yeah, that's completely
Right.
normal
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
because many times, like, I've run through airport
Yeah.
terminals, like Abu
Right.
Dhabi. I'm running up and down, and people think, oh, she's probably catching a flight, and then I'm keep running
Running
back
back
and
the same
forth,
way. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an example of where that obstacle where you're in that
Right.
environment where maybe other people, and it's probably a good thing they're sleeping,
Yeah.
because they would have probably given you crap,
Yeah.
but you're in that environment that doesn't seem conducive for your
Yeah.
lifestyle, but it's like it's not the things you do, it's like a part of who you are. So wherever you go, you can like continue this
Yeah.
practice. And I think that shows, like the discipline and dedication and the honoring your word,
Yeah.
the fact that you know that you're going to do this, so you find a way to do it.
Right. And a lot of people don't like that, because in some people's heads they think, well, I wouldn't do this, so there's no way somebody else would do this. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's where a lot of the, like a lot of negative comments come from. Not that I really focus on those, but whenever I receive negativity like that, I kind of take a step back and think, man, that's kind of sad, because I know that I would never look at someone's video, and even if I did disagree, I wouldn't tell them about it, because what good is that going to do? I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, this is bull crap. Like, there's the people that would be like, I don't believe you. I'm like, okay, go to my Instagram where I post the like embedded timestamp every day of me filming my feet. Or I made a video of this scenario I told you about with my friend's birthday party. Um, people are like, oh yeah, that's he's running home drunk right now. I'm like, well, I've never drank alcohol before, but I'm not gonna defend myself in the comment section. Like, you can figure it out for yourself. But all that kind of stuff is just really interesting to look at and see how people respond to, a genuine attempt to be positive. Um, my point in that exact video I'm talking about was, I've never been to a party before. I've never really like stayed up till 2 a.m., none of this sort of stuff. But what I was most looking forward to was this run right now, because I know that, this isn't what most people would want to be doing. Everyone else is sleeping, and I'm out here doing my thing, and this is what I'm looking forward to. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, tell a little bit more. So another thing is, you're publicly sharing your run
Yeah.
streak. And did you start doing that at the beginning? Because I feel like that is a whole nother can of
Right.
worms as far as, like I was telling you, I didn't, I've had high school friends that were like, Zah, are you still
Mm,
running? I'm like, yeah, I haven't missed a day since I've known you in high
yeah.
school. And it's like 15 years
Right.
later.
Yeah.
I didn't, nobody close knew I ran every day. And for me, it was almost easier to not have to explain
Mm.
myself or share anything. But, how do you approach that with your, sharing social media and getting comments and,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I started posting every day, starting day 1300. Um, so on my 1300th day, for a little while before that, I'd see people, um, creating this community and creating a personal brand and letting people know who they are simply by posting videos. And I felt like, I've learned so much from running every single day. I've learned so much from all, making discipline the foundation of my life. I've learned all these things. Why couldn't I do this? Like, there's people make these dumb videos, and they're even making money off of it. And I'm like, well, I don't post videos. So how can I expect, to be known for this, and this? So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a video every day and share my thoughts. Um, and so, I mean, for the first while, I'd be filming myself and I'd feel all enthusiastic, and then I'd watch the video back and be like, this is daily morning mile number 1,300, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dang, this sucks. And so, I mean, even on just the video side of things, you learn different things, and all the technical side of it. Uh, but I mean, with the negative comments and stuff, I'm a really confident person. Um, so I don't really get, not necessarily affected, because it's a, it's still a person saying something to me. But I don't let it ruin my day or get me upset, because I know that my intentions are just to be a genuine person and trying to, share the things that I've learned. And so when somebody decides to be mean about it, I'm like, ah, that's sad for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're literally just exposing their own insecurity. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I
That's
feel bad for that. You know what I mean?
that's what the way I see it is the way people approach this running every day thing, whether it's like, oh, my mommy told me you should take a day off,
Yes.
or oh, my doctor says it's not good to run after you deliver a baby, which is true,
Yeah.
disclaimer. But it's like the way the reaction tells a lot about that
Yeah.
person. So I feel like people can either be intimidated or intrigued or just
Yep.
completely, just hate you for doing something that is not, you know, normal, that you don't see every day.
And it's,
Because, we,
yeah, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, it's a lot of ignorance is involved in that sort of stuff. And I'm sure you understand the same thing. Like, oh, his ankles and knees are crying right now. I'm like, do you even know anything about like biomechanics and how things work? Because if you're doing things right, no, you're not just degrading your joints. Um,
that's why it's like, oh yeah, sitting on the couch is doing worse for you. I mean, sitting is the new
yeah,
smoking. And
yeah,
another streak that I have in my life is I don't watch Netflix or TV
yeah,
or anything unless, my boys watch SpongeBob. Like
yeah,
it's not like I sit down and watch
right,
SpongeBob, but I don't like watch shows. I don't really watch, like, if somebody wants to watch a movie,
yeah,
maybe, but I'm not, that's another streak is I don't watch things
yeah,
because you're just sitting there watching, like what's really happening. Nothing's
yeah,
happening. You're not even like reading anything. Maybe you're like learning, you're experiencing a storyline, but I think it does more harm than good. So if I'm saying I'm running every
yeah,
day and the people telling me that's bad, I'm like, well, what, I don't do what you do. I don't sit on the couch and watch
yeah. It's
TV.
like, well, what did you eat today?
Mhm.
Should we talk about that? Like, what did your day look like as you're sitting there commenting on my video? Um, I mean, a guy, I literally read a comment this morning, and he was like, "Good for you, I guess, but not sure why you're doing this every single day for no reason." And like something about it being not good for you. I'm like, you click on the profile, dude's overweight, like 40, just not really up to anything, it seems, according to his TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just say nothing.
It's funny how the mind works. Like the mind naturally like remembers the negative as much as we thrive off the positive,
Yeah,
helping people. Someone's like, oh, you've inspired me, blah blah blah. But
right.
it's like the mind enjoys that like comfort and that almost like the negativity, that we remember those negative
Yeah,
things the most. Like one of my top comments that I think about, someone was like, oh, that would be cool if you didn't tell anybody. And I'm like, well, I didn't tell anybody for 18 years. So
yeah.
like, what's wrong with
And
that?
it's like it,
Or
it, it gives you, I will say this, it gives you the feeling that you want to explain yourself. And that's where it's like, I don't think this person cares to hear me explain myself. And that's kind of the thing that turns me off from responding most of the time. Um, One of my favorite responses when I get like a ugly comment is like, "Wow, thank you for," or a comment very similar to the one like that. Talking about, "Oh, this is would be cool if you didn't say anything," sort of thing. Like, "Oh, well, thank you for commenting and making this video more popular." Like nobody cares. Okay, thank you for contributing to the virality of this clip that I posted on TikTok. And it's funny, one time a guy commented just, something mean. I don't even remember what it was. And I replied back. I said, "You are literally the only negative person in this entire comment section." And he replied with an apology. I was like,
Huh.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe some people don't
Yeah.
realize it, but I think it's like another practice on top of the run every day is this ego association that we could have with the run
Yeah.
every day, because we're not both of us aren't making videos like, oh my gosh, I am so amazing, I run every day. It's more like, this is what we've
Yeah.
learned, or this is possible. Like, another comment was like, a mile a day, anybody can do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, anybody can do
Right.
it. I think it's when we see this, we can kind of feel this like sense of defensive
Mm.
self within us. Like, we want to defend ourselves because our ego, like, this is what we do, this is what we're making content about. But it's like taking a few breaths, stepping back, like you're in that cold shower and it's uncomfortable, but you realize, no, I don't have to defend
Yeah.
myself. And you kind of just step back and you educate them, or maybe kind of make it aware, like, okay, this is, did you understand, this is negative, I'm trying to just do something
Yeah.
positive. If you want to have some negativity, it's all, go to the news or
Right.
whatever. So it's, yeah, I think it's a whole nother element of sharing your story, which I think takes some strength. And
Yeah, I mean, it can be hard because when it comes down to it, it is you. Like, you're sharing your story about how long you've been doing this thing or the way that you feel about it. Um, and a lot of my videos are kind of talking to the viewer, but when somebody asks a question, I kind of like to go through that, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, do you never get sick, or have you never done this?" I responded to one the other day. What about when you get blackout drunk the night before? And I'm like, well, I've never drank alcohol, so I've never had to deal with this. And
that's kind of the prevention
yeah,
part, creating a lifestyle that can support
right,
this. Yeah.
right. And so, I mean, yeah, again, it can be hard because you're sharing your story and you want to, it feels like an attack on you, and someone's like, "Oh, this is dumb," and then you just have to be like, "Okay, I can I can see where they're coming from, um, as a person that has maybe never experienced this sort of routine or dedication or just activity in general, and I guess I wouldn't expect them to understand." So,
Mhm. So yeah, how would you say, segueing into, I mean, you're a mere 22 years old,
mm.
but you've already, completed, running every day. But how have you implemented that, like those values into, you said you have your
Mm.
entrepreneur, creating your own brand. How have you implemented that into like what you're creating, or your
Yeah,
career
yeah.
wise,
So,
life?
one of my businesses, I own a nutrition bar company called Set Bar. Um, we're in very early stages. It's been a few years endeavor trying to start it up, but essentially, um, the way I am with the running, the way I am with everything, or with one thing, is how you are with everything. So, um, in terms of nutrition, I'm just don't eat processed foods, no refined sugars, no refined carbs, things like that. So when I'm shopping for any sort of food product, and I see some garbage in the ingredients, I'm like, well, I'm just simply not going to eat this. Uh, so I kind of created that product with the same point of view of, like, I want people to have a product that is real food. There are no shortcuts. There are no preservatives. It's not going to sit in your glove box of your car for 10 years and still be good, because that's not how food is. Um, so, creating that with the same mindset, uh, it, really everything just kind of comes down to consistency and really asking the question why when you kind of say these limitations in your head. Um, people say all these different things are impractical. Oh, well, you can't run every day. What about when you're sick? What about da da da? You can't do this. You can't eat healthy all the time. You can Why? Why not?
Mhm.
I can wake up every single day and make the decision to do that. You know, it it's always just blown my mind why people aren't asking why when people ask such limiting questions or make these limiting statements. Um, and so I think that's just something to keep in mind, is always asking when people are trying to kind of box you in with certain statements and questions. Um, and then I guess in other terms of my like career type of stuff, I just bought my first house, which is pretty fun. So I'm doing like doing like real estate investment kind of stuff, um, and renting out all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to be duplicating that over the years, and that's always a fun thing. But I decided not to go to college out of high school and at all. Um, I mean, that's kind of another sector of that same topic is like, oh, if you don't go to college, then there's this stigma. Um,
Yeah.
and if you don't jump into one path and like make sure you stick to it forever, then you're not going to make it happen. Um, and to me, I'm like, I'm just going to do a bunch of different things and I can make money all these different ways and I can do all these different projects and just do things how I want to do it. Because if I had to do it someone else's way, then I probably wouldn't be very happy. And
Mhm.
it's just not worth it,
Well, there's the life experience and then the institutionalized education. So, I mean, I completely understand
Yeah,
the
yeah. And I
aspect.
mean,
That's
essentially, you're living life. You're not living a job. You're not living college. Um,
mhm.
so I think learning how to deal with people, learning how to talk to people, learning how to communicate, learning how to be responsible for something. When you're working for somebody, you don't really care about what you're doing in a lot of cases. And that's not to say that some people don't have awesome jobs. Um, but some people just go into the company they work for and they don't give a crap about the company, to be quite honest. But when it's yours, you really learn what it's like to care about something like that and try and preserve its function and try and just be careful with what you're doing. So
Yeah, it's like the clock in, clock out. We're not clocking out of
yeah,
life. You're putting in your run, cold shower, meals. When it hits 5 p.m., you're clocking
yeah.
out. You're on the couch eating candy, and
Right.
so it's yeah. So I completely understand the mentality as far as like we'll clock out when we
Yeah,
die.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause it's all a part of the same system. I feel like all the different aspects of my life work together in a sense. So you know when uh, when going to the gym is not making you money, um, it's kind of hard to explain going to the gym for 3 hours and people being like, "Oh, you don't need to spend so much time there. Like it's not your job." But it's like, well, people do make a job out of being themselves essentially in a way. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's a huge part of the foundation of who I am. And, every day that continues to build on that. Every day of the running continues to build on that. And, yeah, I don't make money on the daily morning mile quite yet. I've made a little bit, I guess, from the TikTok views, but I feel like that contributes to something much larger that maybe I don't quite know yet. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it really counts. So
Well, this is the day and age you can monetize your
yeah,
lifestyle. You can monetize your life, anything you do.
right.
So, I think you're on track. And but yeah, tell people where they can find you on TikTok.
Yeah, yeah. TikTok and Instagram are both Crew Mahoney, so CRUMAHONEY. And yeah, I post on TikTok every single day, daily morning mile video, just kind of really just my thoughts about mindset, things that are motivating, things that I've learned over the years, really everything that everything I can think of. So, and then Instagram, I post a little, at least a little story of my feet running every morning, so you can see me out there doing my thing. But
And so and another question, how else do you track your runs? Do you write it down? Do you have an app, or what do you do to track
yeah,
everything?
so I don't like write it down necessarily, but every single day, I basically write down, the idea that I'm going to share on my daily morning mile video. So that's just labeled like with the day right next to it. Uh, so I'll have, 1610 and then kind of what I'm going to talk about on that given day. And then that's just how I kind of keep the count.
Yeah.
And then on TikTok, I, put the day that it is and the time that I take the video, which it's kind of funny because sometimes it seems like I'm late, but it's really that I've run closer to like 2 miles to avoid cars being in the background of the video. So today I was out
Yeah.
there for like 20 minutes, probably ran like a mile and a half or two, just because cars kept going by and, restart and try and make it as listenable as possible. So,
And I think that's like another practice that, people just kind of see you running, talking,
yeah,
they get used to it, kind of numb
right.
to it. But living that experience where you're running, people are watching you do
Yes.
this is strange.
I mean, it's funny because there's like certain parts of the route I take where I'm like, I don't really want to be talking because there will be like an apartment building. I'm like, oh God, what if someone's like out on their porch or something just watching me? Or like, I wait for the cars to be gone so I could just film. And because I feel like I have to talk really loud for it to be clear on the video. And I mean, it's like
Mhm.
5:30 in the morning. So I'm like, this is
Yeah.
daily morning, like screaming out there. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I have the same, because we kind of do a similar thing. I do like a short clip of me
Yeah.
running. But I have like the same place that I do it because I know, there's not many houses.
Right.
It's shady. There's tree background. You don't see like street
Yeah.
signs, keep it secure. So it's a whole nother strange aspect of the daily
Right.
run
I did it
all.
one day and there was a person on the sidewalk like 5 feet in front of me and I didn't see them at all. And then a fly or a bug flew into my eye. So I'm like saying my whole thing on video and then this bug flies into my eye. I see this girl standing there. I'm like, oh crap, a bug just flew in my eye. And I'm like, God, I wonder what she's telling people about this morning. Oh,
Oh, some
yeah.
TikToker. Yeah, that's kind of the embarrassing
Right.
part. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing everything, and yeah, we can connect on our the listeners. Go connect Instagram and
Yeah,
TikTok, and
absolutely.
yeah, share some love. But appreciate you sharing your story.
100%. I appreciate you having me on. It was fun to talk about it. So,
Yeah. So let me don't leave.
now we're good.